The revolution of 1959, which swept Fidel Castro to power on the island of Cuba, ushered in an era of great hardship for the Church, with Christian communities suffering under a communist regime. In the 1960s, Fidel Castro's regime carried out a clampdown, confiscating Catholic churches and schools and expelling or arresting many priests. In the years since then, the Church has faced strict controls on worship and religious activity. But since Fidel was succeeded as president by his brother Raúl, bishops in Cuba say that the situation has improved, though there is still much work to be done. Some restrictions on worship have been lifted, and over the last 2 years, a replica statue of Our Lady of Cobre, Cuba's patron, has been traveling around the island visiting towns and villages in all 11 dioceses. Crowds have flocked to see the statue and to take part in the processions. Just a few years ago, this would have been unthinkable, as such processions were banned. Recently, Regina Lynch, who is Aid to the Church in Need's project director, visited Cuba to find out more about the situation for Christians there. Regina joins me now. Welcome, Regina. Thank you for being with us here today.
My pleasure.
The bishops in Cuba have talked about a thawing of relations and an improvement of relations. What can you tell us about this? Have you seen something? Has there been an improvement for Christians on the ground?
Yes, for example, many of those buildings that were confiscated have been restored to the church, even though they're in a bad state of repair. But for me, the greatest improvement is the fact that they can have religious processions now. It means that faith is out there on the street. It reminds me a lot of the Old Testament. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. And when I went there, I really felt this is a pilgrim church. We were lucky to meet seminarians who told us their testimonies, how one in particular was a Marxist. By seeing a film about Blessed John Paul II, he found his way to God, he found his conversion. Or Father Juan, I think, who goes out to the village communities every weekend with a truck full of people to spread the word of God, to bring catechism to the people.
How would you say the mood is on the ground today? How would you describe the mood?
Well, when I was there, the news came or broke about the visit of Pope Benedict now coming up. And there was great excitement. The people were really overwhelmed by it. So I would say there's a real sense of hope that things are moving forward.
The Church has a lot to do in healing of the decades of oppression. What challenges does the Church face, and how can Aid to the Church in Need help?
Well, I think the greatest challenge that we heard everybody talking about was they said the bishops were saying to us there's a great thirst for the Word of God and how to bring this Word of God to the people, especially as whole generations were away from the Church. Grandparents didn't dare teach the Rosary, for example, to their children. So I think there is a great need to teach catechism. For example, Aid to the Church in Need has a catechism which we provide for the church there. We are also currently providing 250,000 papal rosaries for the Catholics in Cuba. There is a great need for vocations. There's a shortage of priests. There's a lot of work to be done, but not necessarily sufficient personnel to do that. So we are also helping for the formation of the major seminarians. And the sisters do great work. I think in particular about the Servants of Mary, whose special charisma is to stay up all night with the dying. They stay with them, they pray. They have some very moving stories about deathbed conversions. And we at Aid to the Church in Need, for example, are helping them. We're giving them an existence help.
Regina, one of the Church's initiatives obviously is very important at the moment, is to take a replica statue of Our Lady of El Cobre around all the 11 dioceses in the island. Can you tell us about this program and what is the devotion of the people towards Our Lady of El Cobre?
In Cuba, there's tremendous Marian devotion. I have rarely seen it so strong as in Cuba. And even people who are not necessarily Catholics or even believers, they have this devotion to Our Lady. So in preparation for the 400th anniversary of the discovery of the statue, Our Lady came to visit the people of Cuba. And now the people are going back to Cobre in pilgrimages to visit her. It's something that's very impressive. There have been many miracles as well in Cuba. So I think this is a great way to develop the faith in Cuba. I myself attended a procession in a very poor parish in Cuba. I was very touched by the people, by the prayer of the people. They sang, they pray, and each person received an individual blessing from the bishop and the priests who were there.
The only previous visit of a pope to the island of Cuba was, of course, Pope John Paul II, now Blessed Pope John Paul II, in 1998. After this, there was a tremendous hope that things would change, that there would be a new time, but this didn't materialize. What are the hopes now based on the visit of Pope Benedict XVI?
Well, I think before and after Pope John Paul II's visit, there was some progress was made. Then in 2010, Raúl Castro said it was the end of the period of confrontation with the Church. And certainly people have great hope with this visit of Pope Benedict. I would hope myself that the dialogue that has already started between the Church and the State will be intensified. I would also hope that in addition to buildings being given back to the Church, that the Church will finally get permission also to put up new structures, because certainly there is a great shortage of places of worship. We saw that in the countryside, also in the cities. And I really think that this visit will be a sign to the people of Cuba that yes, they are also part of the universal church, that they are not alone in their faith, and that they themselves can be evangelizers.
Regina, thank you for telling us a little bit about your trip to Cuba today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Christians in Cuba still have many challenges to face, but they can do so with more hope than at any point in the last 50 years. And they can do so knowing that they have the prayers and the support of Aid to the Church in Need's benefactors.